r/AITA best friend ruined my destination wedding, so I exposed him to everyone. AITA for exposing my best friend after he ruined my destination wedding? I'm sitting in my honeymoon suite in Tuscany at 3 a.m., still in my wedding dress, watching my phone explode with notifications while my new husband sleeps beside me. 2 hours ago, I hit send on the most vindictive message I've ever written. No going back now. Let me explain how we got here, because I need to know if I'm completely insane or if what I did was justified. My best friend Jake has been in my life for 10 years. We've been through everything together: breakups, job losses, family drama, you name it. When I got engaged to David last year, there wasn't even a question about who my maid of honor would be. Jake was thrilled, helped me plan everything, and seemed genuinely excited about our destination wedding in Tuscany. I spent 2 years planning this wedding. 2 years. Every detail was perfect, from the vineyard venue to the hand-calligraphed invitations to the custom floral arrangements that cost more than my car. David and I saved for this, our families contributed, and we flew 40 people halfway around the world to celebrate with us. The ceremony was magical. Everything went exactly as I dreamed. Jake gave the most beautiful maid of honor speech that had everyone crying happy tears. I remember looking at him during dinner, feeling so grateful to have someone who knew me that well standing by my side on the most important day of my life. Then the reception happened. By 10 p.m., Jake was absolutely hammered. Not cute tipsy, full-on sloppy, stumbling, slurring his words drunk. I tried to cut him off, but he kept finding ways to get more wine. David's brother Marcus was there with his wife Emma and their 2 young kids. Marcus is going through a rough patch in his marriage, everyone knows it, but they were trying to keep things together for family events. What I didn't know was that Jake had been flirting with Marcus all evening. Apparently, Jake cornered him by the bar around 11 p.m. and started getting handsy. Marcus had been drinking too, Emma was dealing with their crying toddler, and somehow Jake convinced him to sneak off to one of the guest rooms. I found out when Emma came running to me in tears, asking if I'd seen her husband. Other guests were already whispering and pointing. Someone had seen them going upstairs together. The whole reception basically ground to a halt while we searched the villa. We found them in one of the bridal party rooms. Door unlocked. Half-dressed. On the bed where my cousin was supposed to be sleeping. The aftermath was nuclear. Emma started screaming, the kids were crying, David's parents were mortified, and half our guests were either staring in shock or trying to pretend nothing happened. My perfect wedding reception turned into a Jerry Springer episode in the span of 10 minutes. Jake sobered up real quick when Emma started threatening to call his workplace. He's a teacher. He scrambled to get dressed, muttering apologies that sounded more annoyed than sorry. Marcus was a mess, begging Emma to let him explain. But here's the part that sent me over the edge. When I confronted Jake privately afterward, he wasn't remorseful at all. He was defensive. Angry, even. Said it wasn't his fault that Marcus was obviously closeted and that I should have controlled the alcohol situation better if I didn't want drama. Controlled the alcohol situation. At my own wedding. Like his decision to seduce a married father of 2 was somehow my responsibility as the bride. That's when I decided Jake needed to face some consequences. I barely slept that night. While David tried to comfort me, all I could think about was Jake's complete lack of accountability. He'd single-handedly destroyed my wedding reception and somehow made himself the victim. The more I replayed our conversation, the angrier I got. The next morning, I woke up to a group text from Jake sent to our entire friend circle at 6 a.m. Hey everyone. Sarah's wedding was amazing. So much fun, wish you could have all been there. Sorry if things got a little wild at the end, you know how Italian wine hits different. Face with tears of joy wineglass, love you all. He was spinning the narrative. Making it sound like some harmless party mishap instead of the relationship-destroying scandal it actually was. The responses from our friends back home were all laughing emojis and wish we were there comments. They had no idea what really happened. That's when I started thinking about the screenshots. See, Jake has this habit of being two-faced. Sweet as pie to people's faces, absolutely vicious behind their backs. Over the years, I'd saved certain conversations without really thinking about it, partly because some of his comments were so shocking I couldn't believe he'd actually said them, and partly because my phone automatically backs up messages. There was the time he called our friend Riley desperate and pathetic for struggling with infertility, right after he'd offered to help her with baby shower planning. The messages where he made fun of Sam's anxiety attacks, calling them attention-seeking tantrums. Screenshots of him deliberately giving bad advice to our friend Chris about a job interview because he was jealous Chris might out-earn him. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. I'd also caught him in major lies over the years. He'd been telling everyone he got promoted to department head at his school. I'd accidentally found out from another teacher that he'd actually been passed over twice. He'd borrowed money from multiple friends claiming his dad was sick, but his social media showed him blowing cash on expensive dinners and concert tickets. The worst part? I'd been enabling him. Making excuses, smoothing things over, convincing our other friends to forgive him when they got upset about his behavior. I'd spent years being Jake's personal PR manager, and this is how he repaid me. But it was the messages about David that really sealed it for me. Going through old conversations, I found texts from when David and I first started dating. Jake had called him boring, not good enough for me, and this one really stung, said he was counting down the days until Sarah realizes she's settling. He'd been fake supportive to my face while actively hoping my relationship would fail. Then I found something that made my blood run cold. Messages between Jake and Marcus from 3 months ago. Apparently they'd connected on social media and had been flirting for weeks leading up to the wedding. Jake had been planning this. He knew Marcus was married, knew he was vulnerable, and had deliberately targeted him. This wasn't some drunken mistake. It was calculated. I spent the morning screenshotting everything, organizing it chronologically, adding context where needed. My hands were shaking as I worked, part fury and part disbelief at the extent of Jake's manipulation over the years. David found me hunched over my phone at noon, still in my pajamas, surrounded by room service plates I'd barely touched. Sarah, what are you doing? I looked up at my new husband, this man who'd been nothing but patient and kind while his own family imploded at our wedding. I'm ending a friendship, I said. David sat down beside me on the bed, his face serious. Sarah, I know you're hurt. What Jake did was unforgivable. But maybe you should take some time before. Before what? I interrupted, my voice sharper than I intended. Before I hold him accountable? He's already spinning this as some cute wedding mishap, David. By the time we get home, he'll have convinced everyone that your brother seduced him. David winced. He'd been fielding calls from his family all morning. Emma had taken the kids and gone to stay with her sister. Marcus was apparently locked in his hotel room, refusing to talk to anyone. The whole family was in crisis mode, and Jake was posting Instagram stories of his breakfast with heart eye emojis at the Italian pastries. I just think, David said carefully, that maybe there's a better way to handle this than nuclear warfare. But I was already typing. First, I crafted a message to our main friend group chat, the one with 12 of our closest friends, the people who'd been commenting on Jake's sanitized version of events all morning. Hey everyone. Since Jake shared his version of the wedding, I thought you might want to know what actually happened. I attached a photo of Emma crying in the bathroom, Marcus's wedding ring abandoned on the nightstand, and the guest room in shambles. Then I started adding the screenshots. The messages about Riley's infertility struggles. His cruel comments about Sam's anxiety. The lies about his job promotion. The evidence of him flirting with Marcus for months before the wedding. But as I scrolled through 10 years of friendship, I started finding things that made me question everything. Messages I'd completely forgotten about, or maybe blocked out. Like the screenshots of conversations between Jake and my ex-boyfriend Tyler from 3 years ago. Jake had been feeding Tyler information about my schedule, my insecurities, encouraging him to fight for me even after I'd explicitly said I needed space. When Tyler showed up at my apartment unannounced multiple times, making me feel unsafe in my own home, Jake had acted shocked and supportive. But here was proof he'd been orchestrating it. Or the messages with David's ex-girlfriend Chloe from last year. Jake had reached out to her on Instagram, sharing details about our relationship problems during a rough patch, suggesting she should check in on David. When Chloe started texting David again, causing a huge fight between us, Jake had been the one comforting me, telling me David obviously still had feelings for her. Jake hadn't just been a bad friend. He'd been actively sabotaging my relationships for years, then positioning himself as my emotional support when things went wrong. My hands were shaking as I added those screenshots to the pile. Each revelation felt like uncovering another layer of betrayal. How many times had Jake manufactured drama just so he could be the one to console me through it? Sarah. David's voice was worried now. You've been at this for hours. Maybe we should go get some lunch, take a break. He tried to break us up, I whispered, showing David the messages with Chloe. Last year, when we were fighting about the wedding budget and I was staying at Riley's place? He was behind Chloe texting you. He wanted us to break up. David's face went pale as he read the screenshots. Jesus Christ. That's when I found the final piece. A group chat I wasn't part of, but Jake had accidentally screenshotted it while sending me a meme months ago. The screenshot showed Jake talking to 3 of our mutual friends, including Riley and Sam. Sarah's getting married because she's terrified of being alone, Jake had written. Give it 2 years max. David's a rebound that got out of hand. Riley had responded, that's harsh, Jake. I'm just being realistic. I'll be here to pick up the pieces when it falls apart. I always am. I stared at the message, feeling sick. He'd been waiting for my marriage to fail. Actively working toward it. Planning to be my savior when it happened. I hit send on the group message before I could change my mind. Then I started on the Instagram post. The Instagram post was harder to write than the group message. I had to be strategic about it, too much detail and people would think I was having a breakdown, too little and Jake's version would stick. I needed to seem rational, hurt but composed, backed by evidence. I started with a simple statement, thank you to everyone who celebrated our wedding weekend with us in Tuscany. Unfortunately, our reception was cut short due to some unexpected drama that I feel I need to address directly. Then I shared just enough. A tasteful but damning account of Jake's behavior, a few carefully selected screenshots that showed his pattern of manipulation without revealing the most private details about our friends. I made sure to include the messages proving he'd been planning his hookup with Marcus for months. I'm sharing this not for revenge, but because I realized I've been enabling harmful behavior for years by staying silent. Jake has consistently manipulated situations and relationships within our friend group, and I can no longer be complicit in that. My finger hovered over the post button. David was watching me from across the room, his expression unreadable. Last chance to stop me, I said. He sighed. I don't think I could stop you if I tried. And honestly? After seeing those messages about us, maybe Jake needs to face some consequences. I posted it. The response was immediate and explosive. My phone started buzzing nonstop within minutes. Comments, DMs, texts, missed calls. I watched the likes climb, 50, 100, 200. People were screenshotting it, sharing it to their stories, tagging mutual friends. Then Jake's name flashed across my screen. Incoming call. Don't answer it, David said quickly. But I was already swiping to accept. I needed to hear what he had to say. Sarah, what the fuck? Jake's voice was shrill, panicked. Take that post down right now. No, I said calmly. I don't think I will. You have no right to, this is defamation. I could sue you. For posting screenshots of your own words? Those were private conversations. Jesus Christ, Sarah, my principal follows you on Instagram. My coworkers, his voice cracked. My parents are getting calls. People are sending this to my mom. For a split second, I felt a flicker of guilt. Then I remembered Emma sobbing in her ruined bridesmaid dress, her kids confused and scared, asking why mommy was crying. You should have thought about that before you decided to blow up my wedding, I said. And before you spent years sabotaging my relationships. I never, that's not, you're taking those messages out of context. Which ones? The ones where you called Riley pathetic? Were you coordinated with Tyler to stalk me? Or where you tried to break up my marriage before it even started? Silence on the other end. Take it down, Sarah. Please. We can talk about this like adults. We did talk about it. Yesterday. When you told me it was my fault for not controlling the alcohol situation. I was drunk. I didn't mean. You meant every word. Just like you meant every cruel thing you said about our friends. Just like you meant it when you planned to seduce Marcus months ago. That's not, we just talked a few times. I have the screenshots, Jake. All of them. My phone buzzed with incoming calls from other numbers. Riley, Sam, Marcus's number, people I hadn't heard from in months. The post was spreading beyond our immediate circle. Sarah, Jake's voice was desperate now. Please. I'm begging you. I made mistakes, okay? But this is destroying my entire life. You destroyed mine first, I said, and hung up. David was staring at me. How do you feel? I looked down at my phone, still buzzing with notifications. Comments were flooding in from college friends, work acquaintances, people I'd barely spoken to in years. Everyone wanted to know more, wanted details, wanted to pick a side. Terrified, I admitted. And completely sure I did the right thing. The notifications didn't stop. If anything, they got worse. By evening, my Instagram post had over 1,000 likes and hundreds of comments. People were dissecting every screenshot, analyzing Jake's behavior patterns, sharing their own stories about times he'd been weird or manipulative that they'd brushed off before. It was like watching a dam break in real time. But then the tide started to shift. Sarah, you need to see this, David said, handing me his phone. Jake had posted his own response, a long, emotional statement about how he was struggling with alcoholism and his sexuality, how the wedding had been a rock-bottom moment that made him realize he needed help. He was checking himself into therapy, he said. He took full responsibility for his actions and begged people not to judge him during this vulnerable time. The comments on his post were overwhelmingly supportive. So brave for sharing this. We all make mistakes. Sarah's response seems really vindictive now. My stomach dropped. He was doing it again, spinning the narrative, making himself the victim, but this time he was better at it. More calculated. Then Riley called. Sarah, what the hell? Her voice was sharp. I just got off the phone with Jake. He's having a complete breakdown. Riley, did you see what he said about you? About your fertility struggles? He explained that. He was venting to you during a dark period in his own life. People say things they don't mean when they're struggling. I felt like I was taking crazy pills. He called you desperate and pathetic for wanting a baby. And you kept screenshots for months, waiting for the right moment to use them against him. That's not normal friend behavior, Sarah. I wasn't waiting for. Look, what happened at your wedding was awful. Jake crossed a line. But destroying someone's entire life over it? Posting private conversations on social media? That's psychotic. The word hit me like a slap. Riley. I need some space to process this. We all do. She hung up before I could respond. Within an hour, 3 more friends had called with similar messages. Jake was reaching out to everyone individually, doing damage control, reframing everything. He was the struggling alcoholic who'd made mistakes. I was the vindictive bride who'd weaponized his private thoughts during his darkest moments. Maybe they have a point, David said gently. We were sitting on our honeymoon suite balcony, the Tuscan sunset mocking us with its beauty. Not about Jake, he's manipulative as hell. But about the way you handled it. You supported this earlier. I supported you being angry. I didn't think you'd nuclear bomb his entire existence on Instagram. I stared at him. So you're on his side now too? There are no sides, Sarah. There's just a lot of hurt people trying to figure out what's true. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Jake's mom. I don't know what happened between you two, but my son is devastated. He's not eating, barely sleeping. He made mistakes, but he doesn't deserve this public humiliation. Please consider taking the post down. Then another from Marcus. Sarah, I know you're angry, but Jake's not the only one responsible for what happened. I made choices too. Your post is making Emma think she can use this in divorce proceedings. My kids don't deserve to have their family destroyed over my mistakes. And another from my own mother. Honey, I saw your post. I'm worried about you. This doesn't seem like something the daughter I raised would do. Are you sure you're thinking clearly? Everyone was against me. Every single person was finding ways to make Jake's destruction of my wedding into my fault somehow. I was the crazy one. The vindictive one. The one who'd gone too far. But then I opened my DMs and found something that changed everything. A message from a name I didn't recognize. Hi Sarah. I'm Emma Chan. I went to college with Jake. I saw your post and I think we need to talk. What happened at your wedding isn't the first time he's done something like this. I have proof. I stared at Emma Chan's message, my heart pounding. Another victim. Part of me felt vindicated. I wasn't crazy. Jake really was a serial manipulator. But another part felt sick. How many people had he hurt over the years? I clicked on her profile. Mid-20s, worked at a tech company in Portland, seemed normal enough. We had 3 mutual friends, all from Jake's college days. David, look at this, I said, showing him the message. He read it, frowning. Are you going to respond? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Riley again. Sarah, you need to take the post down. Now. Her voice was ice cold. Riley, I just got a message from someone else Jake hurt. Stop. Just stop. Jake's in the hospital. My blood turned to ice water. What? He had a panic attack so severe they thought it was a heart attack. He's 29 years old, Sarah. His mom found him collapsed in his apartment. The phone felt heavy in my hand. Is he okay? Physically? Yes. But Sarah, he's completely broken. And it's not just him. Do you know what you've done to the rest of us? Sam's anxiety is through the roof because everyone's asking her about those messages you posted. Riley's getting pitying looks at work because people saw Jake's comments about her infertility. We're all collateral damage in your revenge plot. It wasn't revenge, it was. What? Justice? You're not Batman, Sarah. You're just someone who kept screenshots of private conversations for years like some kind of stalker. The accusation hit hard because there was truth in it. Normal people don't keep years of potentially damaging screenshots of their friends. Normal people don't have a mental arsenal ready to deploy. Riley, he manipulated all of us. Maybe he did. But you know what? I'd rather have a manipulative friend than a vindictive one who documents everything I say waiting for the chance to use it against me. At least with Jake, I knew he was messy. With you, I never saw this coming. She hung up again, and this time I knew she wasn't calling back. David was watching me carefully. Sarah, maybe you should call the hospital. Check on him. You want me to check on Jake? After everything? I want you to remember that you're not a monster. And right now, you're acting like one. His words stung worse than Riley's. David had been my one ally in this, and now even he was looking at me like I'd gone too far. My phone buzzed with another message from Emma Chan. I saw Jake's in the hospital. I'm sorry if my message contributed to that. But Sarah, you need to know, what he did at your wedding, the pattern you exposed. It's exactly what he did to destroy my relationship 3 years ago. He systematically manipulated me and my fiancé until we broke up, then swooped in to comfort me. When I figured it out, he threatened to spread lies about me if I told anyone. You're the first person brave enough to call him out publicly. I showed David the message. He read it silently, his expression unreadable. So what does this prove? He asked finally. That you were right about Jake being manipulative? We already knew that. It doesn't change the fact that he's in a hospital bed because of what you posted. I stared at my husband, this man I'd married less than 48 hours ago, and realized I didn't recognize the person looking back at me. You think I put him there? I think you lit a match and threw it into a gasoline-soaked room. What did you expect would happen? The worst part was, I didn't have an answer. I spent the next hour staring at my phone, paralyzed between guilt and fury. Every few minutes, another message would come in, some supporting Jake, others supporting me, most just asking what the hell was happening. Our entire social circle was imploding in real time. Then I got a call from Jake's sister Monica, someone I'd only met a handful of times. Sarah? It's Monica. I'm at the hospital with Jake. My throat went dry. How is he? Physically stable. Emotionally, not great. Her voice was carefully neutral. Look, I'm not calling to yell at you or take sides. But I found something in Jake's apartment when I went to get him clothes, and I think you need to see it. What kind of something? Can you video call? I want to show you this in person. David moved closer as Monica's face appeared on my screen. She looked exhausted, her hair pulled back in a messy bun, hospital fluorescent lighting making her skin look pale. Jake's been keeping a journal, she said without preamble. I found it open on his desk. Sarah, some of this stuff. She held up a leather-bound notebook. I'm going to read you an entry from 6 months ago. She flipped to a marked page and began reading. Sarah's wedding planning is getting out of control. She's so obsessed with perfection, so desperate to prove she's better than everyone else. David's starting to see it too. I caught him rolling his eyes when she was talking about napkin colors. I should probably say something to help him realize he's making a mistake. Marcus seems unhappy in his marriage. Might be worth exploring. Sarah would be devastated if something happened at her precious wedding. Would definitely need someone to comfort her. The words hit me like ice water. Monica flipped to another page. Emma thinks she's so much better than me because she got married and had kids. Sarah always takes her side when we disagree. Maybe it's time Emma learned what it feels like to have her perfect life disrupted. Marcus is definitely interested. This could solve multiple problems. I felt sick. Monica, are you saying? I'm saying my brother didn't just ruin your wedding on impulse. He planned it. Her voice was shaking. But Sarah, there's more. Stuff about all your friends. He has detailed notes about everyone's insecurities, their weak spots. It's like he was keeping a manual on how to manipulate people. David leaned into frame. Has Jake always been like this? Monica's laugh was bitter. Our whole childhood, Jake was the golden boy who could do no wrong. But I saw things. The way he'd pit our parents against each other, how he'd manipulate situations to get what he wanted. I thought maybe he'd grown out of it. She flipped to a more recent entry. This one's from last week. Sarah's post-wedding high is going to make the crash even better when reality sets in. Marriage is hard work, and she's too selfish to handle it. David will figure it out eventually. I just need to be patient and supportive when it all falls apart. The room felt like it was spinning. Every horrible thing I'd suspected about Jake was true, but somehow seeing it written in his own hand made it worse. Monica, why are you showing me this? Because half our family thinks you're a monster for what you posted, and the other half thinks Jake's just a victim of his own mental health issues. But this journal? This proves he's been systematically manipulating people for years. You weren't wrong about him. A notification popped up on my phone. Jake had been tagged in a new post. Someone had started a GoFundMe for his mental health treatment with the caption, "Help Jake recover from cyberbullying and get the therapy he needs." It already had $200 in donations. He's still doing it, I whispered, showing Monica and David the screen. Even from his hospital bed, he's still manipulating the narrative. Monica's face hardened. That manipulative little, she caught herself. Sarah, what are you going to do with this information? I looked at the journal entries, at the GoFundMe, at David's conflicted expression. Everyone still thought I was the villain in this story. But now I had proof that everything I'd said was true. The question was, would anyone believe it, or would this just make me look even more vindictive? I stared at Monica through the phone screen, my mind racing. The journal was proof, undeniable evidence that I hadn't been crazy or vindictive. Jake really was everything I'd accused him of being. But would anyone believe it now, or would they just see it as me doubling down on my psychotic behavior? Monica, can you send me photos of those journal pages? Already did, she said, and my phone buzzed with incoming messages. But Sarah, be careful how you use this. Jake's lawyer called an hour ago threatening to sue you for defamation. If you post more stuff. He has a lawyer already? His dad hired one the minute your post went viral. They're claiming you damaged his reputation and career prospects. Monica's expression was grim. The family's closing ranks around him. They think you're an obsessed ex-friend who's having some kind of breakdown. David took my hand. Sarah, maybe this is enough. You have proof you were right. You don't need to convince everyone else. But I was already scrolling through the journal photos Monica had sent. Page after page of calculated manipulation, detailed plans for destroying relationships, observations about our friend's vulnerabilities written like he was studying lab rats. One entry from 8 months ago made my blood run cold. Sam's anxiety attacks always happen when she's stressed about work. If I time things right, I could probably trigger one during Sarah's wedding planning. Sarah would have to choose between helping Sam or focusing on her precious wedding. Either way, maximum drama potential. He tried to weaponize Sam's mental health, I breathed, showing David the screen. For entertainment. Another entry, dated 3 weeks ago, Riley's IVF failed again. She's vulnerable right now. Might be worth reconnecting, offering support. Could be useful if I need allies against Sarah later. Everyone loves a grieving almost mother. David's face went pale. Jesus Christ. He was planning this whole campaign. My phone rang. Riley's name flashed on the screen. Don't answer it, David warned, but I was already swiping. Sarah, Jake's lawyer contacted me. He's asking me to be a character witness. Riley's voice was strained. He wants me to testify that you've always been possessive and controlling in friendships. Riley, I just found out. No, listen to me. I'm not doing it. I can't. She took a shaky breath. I've been thinking about what you posted, really thinking. And some of those screenshots, the timing of when Jake would suddenly be extra nice to me always lined up with when I was having problems. Like he was waiting for me to be vulnerable. Hope flickered in my chest. Riley. But Sarah, even if you were right about everything, the way you handled this was wrong. You could have talked to us individually, warned us privately. Instead you made it into a public spectacle. Would you have believed me without proof? Long silence. Probably not, she admitted. But now I'll never know, will I? Before I could respond, David's phone started ringing. Marcus's name on the screen. Should I? David asked. I nodded. Marcus? Yeah, she's here. David put it on speaker. Sarah. Marcus's voice was rough, exhausted. I need you to take down that post. Marcus, I know you're going through. Emma's lawyer is using your screenshots in divorce proceedings. She's claiming I was planning an affair for months, that it proves I'm an unfit father. I might lose custody of my kids because of what you posted. The words hit me like a physical blow. I'd been so focused on exposing Jake that I hadn't thought about how the evidence of their planning would affect Marcus's family situation. I didn't mean for. I know you didn't. But Sarah, those messages make it look like I was actively planning to cheat. Emma's twisting it to say I'm a serial cheater, that this was just the first time I got caught. Your screenshots are going to destroy my family. I looked at David, panic rising in my throat. Marcus, I can add context, explain that Jake was manipulating. It's too late. The damage is done. Emma's already filed papers. His voice cracked. I might not see my kids for months because of this. The line went dead. I stood there holding David's phone, the weight of unintended consequences crushing down on me. I'd wanted to expose Jake's manipulation, but I'd ended up destroying Marcus's chance at joint custody. I'd tried to protect my friends from Jake's lies, but I'd driven them away instead. I need to fix this, I whispered. David's expression was worried. Sarah, I don't think you can fix this. Every move you make just creates more damage. But I was already typing, crafting a new post to clarify Marcus's situation, to explain Jake's manipulation tactics, to share Monica's journal discoveries. Someone needed to understand that I wasn't the villain here. My finger hovered over the post button as David watched in horror. Sarah, don't. Please. But I'd already made my choice. I hit post before I could second-guess myself again. The new post was longer, more detailed. I shared Monica's journal photos, added context about Marcus being manipulated, explained Jake's systematic targeting of vulnerable people. I thought I was being helpful, providing the missing pieces that would make everyone understand. The response was immediate and catastrophic. Within minutes, Jake's mom was calling me, sobbing into the phone. Sarah, how could you? Those journal pages, they're private thoughts. You've destroyed my son's medical privacy, his mental health records could be subpoenaed now. I hadn't thought about that. In my desperation to prove I was right, I potentially made Jake's legal situation worse. Then Monica called, furious. Sarah, what the hell? I showed you those pages in confidence. I didn't give you permission to post them publicly. But they prove everything I said. They also violate about 6 different privacy laws. Jake's lawyer is going nuclear. He's threatening to sue me now too for theft of personal property. My stomach dropped. I'd dragged Monica into this mess, and she'd only been trying to help. David was pacing our honeymoon suite, running his hands through his hair. Sarah, you need to take it down. All of it. Right now. But when I opened Instagram, I saw the real problem. The journal photos were being screenshotted faster than I could track. People were dissecting Jake's handwriting, analyzing his psychological state, sharing the images with captions like "This is what a sociopath looks like" and literal psychopath behavior. It had gone viral beyond our friend group. Strangers were commenting, psychology students were weighing in, and someone had already created a TikTok reading the journal entries dramatically. Jake's full name was being shared alongside terms like manipulative predator and dangerous narcissist. I'd wanted to clear my name within our social circle. Instead, I turned Jake into a viral villain for the entire internet to dissect. My phone rang again. A number I didn't recognize. Sarah Chen? The voice was professional, clipped. This is Jennifer Walsh from Walsh & Associates. I represent Jake Morrison. You have 1 hour to remove all posts containing my client's private journal entries, or we will be filing for emergency injunctive relief and pursuing damages for invasion of privacy, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and defamation. The line went dead. David was staring at me from across the room. That was his lawyer, wasn't it? I nodded, my mouth too dry to speak. Sarah, what have you done? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a text from Riley. Congratulations. Jake just got fired. His principal saw the viral posts. Hope it was worth it. Then Sam, Sarah, I can't be your friend anymore. This isn't about taking sides. This is about you being someone I don't recognize. And another from my cousin who'd been at the wedding. Mom says you've lost your mind and I should stay away from you. Is that true? I looked at David, my new husband who was supposed to be on my honeymoon with me, and saw a stranger. Someone who was looking at me like I might be dangerous. I was right about everything, I whispered. The journal proves it. Being right doesn't justify this, he said quietly. Sarah, you've destroyed multiple people's lives in 48 hours. Jake's, Marcus's, Monica's, maybe your own. They destroyed mine first. No, David said, his voice sad and tired. Jake ruined one night. You've ruined everything else. As if to prove his point, my phone buzzed with a notification that made my blood freeze. A news article linked from a local Portland publication. Teacher fired after private journals leaked by former friend's viral wedding revenge plot. They'd made me the story. The article was worse than I'd imagined. They'd interviewed Jake's principal, who called his behavior deeply concerning and incompatible with our educational environment. They'd spoken to parents who were relieved such a manipulative individual was no longer around their children. But the worst part was the sidebar article, When Wedding Drama Goes Too Far, The Psychology of Social Media Revenge. A relationship expert had analyzed my behavior, using terms like disproportionate response and concerning patterns of documentation and retaliation. They'd made me sound like a textbook case study in toxic friendship dynamics. David, they're making me out to be the crazy one, I said, showing him my phone. They're not mentioning what he did at our wedding, just that I weaponized private communications against someone with mental health struggles. David barely glanced at the screen. He was standing at our balcony window, still in yesterday's clothes, looking like he hadn't slept. Which he probably hadn't, considering I'd spent most of the night refreshing social media and fielding angry calls. Maybe you should read the comments section, he said quietly. I scrolled down, hoping for some support, some validation that I wasn't losing my mind. Instead, I found hundreds of people dissecting my character based on a journalist's interpretation of events they'd never witnessed. She kept screenshots for years. That's psychopath behavior. Imagine being this vindictive over a wedding. Narcissist much? Poor Jake. This woman literally destroyed his entire life over one mistake. One mistake. They were calling the systematic manipulation and planning revealed in his own journal one mistake. But then I saw a comment that made my stomach drop. I know Sarah Chin IRL. She's always been obsessed with controlling her friend group. This doesn't surprise me at all. It was from Jessica, a girl from college I'd barely spoken to in 5 years. She was getting dozens of likes and replies asking for more details about my controlling behavior. Someone from college is lying about me online, I told David, my voice getting higher. People who don't even know me are making up stories. Sarah. David turned from the window, his face serious. I just got a call from my boss. My blood went cold. David worked at a prestigious marketing firm where reputation mattered. What did he say? The story's trending on LinkedIn now. Someone connected it to my company profile. David's voice was carefully controlled. He suggested I might want to take some additional time off while the situation resolves itself. The words hit me like ice water. Are you saying you might get fired because of this? I'm saying my career is now collateral damage in whatever this has become. Before I could respond, my phone rang. My mother's contact photo filled the screen, a woman I'd been dreading talking to since this whole mess started. Mom, I can explain. Sarah Elizabeth Chan, what in God's name have you done? Her voice was sharp enough to cut glass. I have reporters calling the house asking about your childhood. Your father's coworkers are sending him news articles about our daughter. Mom, Jake destroyed my wedding. So you destroyed his entire existence? Sarah, I raised you better than this. This isn't justice, it's cruelty. The disappointment in her voice was worse than Riley's anger or David's withdrawal. My mother had always been my biggest defender, the one person who thought I could do no wrong. I found proof he was planning it for months, I said weakly. He wrote about it in his journal. I don't care if he tattooed his plans on his forehead. You don't destroy someone's life and livelihood over personal drama. She took a shaky breath. Sarah, your aunt just called me crying. Her neighbor recognized our last name from the news story and asked if we were related to that psychotic girl who ruined that poor teacher's life. I'm not psychotic. Then stop acting like it. Take down those posts, apologize publicly, and pray you haven't done permanent damage to this family's reputation. She hung up before I could argue. David was watching me with an expression I'd never seen before, like he was looking at a stranger who'd wandered into our honeymoon suite. Someone he wasn't sure he wanted to be alone with. Even my own mother thinks I'm crazy, I whispered. Sarah, David said carefully, I think we need to go home. Today. I stared at David, my new husband suggesting we cut our honeymoon short because I'd become such a liability. You want to run home? Give up our last 3 days in Tuscany? I want to get ahead of this before it gets worse, he said, already pulling out his phone to check flight options. Sarah, there are TikToks with millions of views using our wedding photos as backdrop for dramatic readings of Jake's journal. Someone found our wedding hashtag and they're commenting on every single post. My stomach dropped. I opened TikTok and searched our wedding hashtag Sarah and David Forever, which now felt like a cosmic joke. Video after video of strangers using our carefully curated wedding photos to illustrate their takes on toxic friendship drama. Our first dance was being used as background music for a video titled When the Main Character Energy Goes Too Far. This is insane, I breathed, watching a girl who couldn't be older than 20 analyze my psychological profile while pictures of me in my wedding dress flashed on screen. These people don't know me. But they think they do, David said grimly. And their version is the one everyone's going to believe. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with a call from Monica. I'd been expecting another angry lecture about posting the journal photos, but her voice was panicked. Sarah, you need to take everything down right now. The hospital just called, Jake tried to hurt himself. The world tilted sideways. What do you mean hurt himself? He pulled out his phone and tried to, look, he's okay, they stopped him, but they're putting him on psychiatric hold now. And Sarah? He's telling the doctors that your posts drove him to it. They're documenting everything for his lawyer. I felt like I was drowning. Monica, I never meant. I know you didn't. But it doesn't matter what you meant anymore. His legal team is building a case that you deliberately pushed someone with known mental health issues to the breaking point. They're going to argue attempted manslaughter. Attempted manslaughter? My voice came out as a squeak. For posting screenshots? For psychological torture leading to self-harm. Sarah, get a lawyer. Today. The line went dead, leaving me staring at David in horror. We're going home, he said, already throwing clothes into our suitcase. Right now. An hour later, we were in a taxi racing toward the airport, our dream honeymoon abandoned like everything else I destroyed in the past 48 hours. I kept refreshing my phone, watching the story mutate and spread beyond anything I could have imagined. Someone had found my LinkedIn and was leaving reviews on my company's page. Employs psychologically unstable individuals who torture mentally ill people for entertainment. My boss had already texted asking me to discuss the situation first thing Monday morning. Riley had posted her own statement distancing herself from me. While Jake's behavior was wrong, Sarah's response was disproportionate and cruel. I cannot support the public destruction of someone's mental health and livelihood over personal grievances. Even Sam, who Jake had specifically planned to trigger during my wedding, was defending him. Mental health struggles don't excuse manipulation, but they also don't justify the systematic destruction Sarah chose. This has gone too far. They're all protecting him, I said to David as our plane taxied down the runway. Even after seeing proof of what he really is. David didn't look up from his phone. Maybe they're not protecting Jake. Maybe they're protecting themselves from you. The words hit harder than any of the angry calls or social media comments. My own husband was afraid of me now. As Italy disappeared beneath the clouds, I realized I'd won the battle but lost the war. I'd proven Jake was manipulative, but I'd become something worse in everyone's eyes. I'd become the villain of my own story. The flight home was a nightmare of turbulence and hostile silence. David spent the entire 8 hours with his headphones on, pointedly ignoring me while I spiraled through social media updates. By the time we landed at JFK, Jake's GoFundMe had reached $15,000 and someone had created a Change.org petition demanding that Instagram ban me for cyberbullying. But the real shock came when we got to baggage claim. Sarah Chen? A woman in a blazer approached with a microphone, followed by a man with a camera. I'm Rebecca Martinez from Channel 7 News. Can you comment on the lawsuit Jake Morrison's family is filing against you? What lawsuit? I stammered, but David was already pulling me away. No comment, he said firmly, shielding me with his body as we rushed toward the exit. Is it true you've kept manipulative files on all your friends? She called after us. Are you seeking mental health treatment for your obsessive behaviors? We made it to David's car, but my hands were shaking so badly I couldn't buckle my seatbelt. They were waiting for us, David. At the airport. How did they even know our flight information? Someone probably posted it online, he said grimly, checking his rearview mirror as we pulled away. Sarah, there are news vans outside our apartment building. I stared at him in disbelief. Our building? How do they know where we live? The same way they found your LinkedIn, your college records, your mother's address. His voice was tight with barely controlled anger. The internet is very good at tracking people down when they want to destroy them. My phone started ringing. My landlord's name flashed on the screen. Ms. Chen, I'm getting calls from reporters asking about your lease, Mr. Kowalski said without preamble. Other tenants are complaining about news crews in the lobby. I need you to handle this situation immediately or we'll have to discuss other arrangements. Other arrangements. He was threatening to evict me. Mr. Kowalski, I can explain. I don't want explanations. I want those cameras gone by tomorrow or you'll be hearing from my lawyer too. As soon as he hung up, David's phone rang. His sister Emma's name appeared on the screen. David, thank God, Emma's voice was frantic even through the speaker. Mom's been getting calls all day. Someone found our family Facebook photos and they're posting them with captions about how you enable psychotic behavior. They're saying you're probably abusive too since you married someone so unstable. I felt like I'd been slapped. They're attacking David's family now? Sarah, they found my kid's school, Emma continued, her voice breaking. The principal called to warn me that someone was asking questions about our family at pickup today. My 8-year-old daughter is being watched by strangers because of your drama. David pulled over to the side of the highway, his face pale. Emma, take the kids and go stay with Aunt Marie for a few days. This is insane. I exploded. I exposed someone who manipulated people for years, and somehow I'm the monster? Jake destroyed my wedding, planned to break up my marriage, and systematically abused our friends. And now your response has put children at risk, David said quietly. My niece and nephew are hiding from reporters because you couldn't let it go. Before I could argue, my phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. Stop hiding behind David. Face what you've done like an adult. We know where you work, where you shop, where your parents live. This isn't over. I showed David the message with trembling hands. They're threatening my family now. David read it, his jaw tightening. We're going to a hotel tonight. Not our apartment, not my sister's place. Somewhere anonymous while we figure out how to handle this. Handle what? I'm the victim here. Are you? David's voice was deadly quiet. Because from where I'm sitting, you look like someone who's destroyed multiple lives because you couldn't handle one bad night at your wedding. I stared at my husband of 3 days, this man who was supposed to love and support me, and realized he'd already made his choice about who I really was. And it wasn't the version of myself I recognized at all. The hotel room felt like a prison cell. David had chosen some generic chain off the highway, paying cash and using a fake name like we were fugitives. Which, I was beginning to realize, we essentially were. I sat on the scratchy comforter, scrolling through my phone while David paced by the window, occasionally peeking through the curtains like paparazzi might have followed us. Sarah, you need to see this, he said, his voice strained. I looked up to find him holding his laptop, his face ashen. What now? Someone leaked your work address. There's a whole thread on Reddit with photos of your office building, your boss's contact information, even the coffee shop you go to for lunch. He turned the screen toward me. They're calling it Operation Accountability. They want to make sure you face real-world consequences for what you did to Jake. My blood turned to ice as I scrolled through the comments. Hundreds of strangers were coordinating a campaign to destroy my life, treating it like some kind of game. They'd found my college transcripts, my voting records, even my high school yearbook photos. Look at this entitled bitch in her prom dress, one comment read, posted alongside a photo I'd forgotten existed. Bet she's always been a manipulative psycho. Someone else had created an entire timeline of my social media posts going back years, analyzing them for signs of narcissistic behavior. A random photo of me at Riley's birthday party was being used as evidence that I was always attention-seeking because I was smiling too widely. My phone started ringing. My boss's name appeared on the screen. Sarah, I need you to come in tomorrow morning, Mr. Peterson said without any pleasantries. We need to discuss your employment status. Sir, I haven't done anything wrong at work. You brought negative attention to the company. We've received dozens of calls today demanding we fire you. Our Yelp reviews are being bombed with comments about employing unstable individuals. This is affecting our business. The line went dead. I stared at the phone, feeling the walls closing in around me. They're going to fire me, I whispered to David. He didn't respond, too absorbed in whatever he was reading on his laptop. When I looked over his shoulder, I saw he was on our wedding photographer's Instagram page. Every single photo from our wedding was now flooded with comments from strangers. Your bride is a psychopath, one read. Hope you got a prenup. This is what happens when you marry crazy, said another. Run while you still can. She probably manipulated him into marrying her. Look at his face in the photos, he looks scared. David slammed the laptop shut. I can't do this anymore. Do what? This. He gestured between us, around the room, at my phone still buzzing with notifications. Sarah, my own mother called me crying today. She's getting messages from strangers telling her she raised a son who enables abusive women. My grandmother had to disconnect her landline because people were calling asking if our family has a history of mental illness. I felt something cold and sharp twist in my chest. So what are you saying? David sat down on the edge of the bed, his head in his hands. I'm saying I need space to think. About us, about what this means, about whether I can handle being married to someone who's capable of this. The word hung in the air like a physical presence. This. The destruction, the chaos, the complete annihilation of everything I'd touched in the past 72 hours. You want a separation? My voice came out smaller than I intended. I want to understand how the woman I married could become someone I don't recognize in the span of 3 days. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with a call from Monica. I answered, desperate for any distraction from the conversation David and I were avoiding. Sarah, we have a problem. Monica's voice was tight with panic. Jake's been released from psychiatric hold, and he's giving interviews now. What kind of interviews? I asked Monica, my voice barely audible. Everything. Local news, podcasts, some documentary filmmaker who reached out yesterday. He's painting himself as a victim of cancel culture and cyberbullying. Her voice was strained. Sarah, he's good at this. Really good. He's sitting there looking fragile and vulnerable, talking about how social media destroyed his life over one mistake at a friend's wedding. I grabbed David's laptop and searched for Jake's name. The first result was a YouTube video posted 2 hours ago, teacher destroyed by viral wedding drama speaks out. Jake's face filled the thumbnail, looking pale and hollow-eyed, with a caption exclusive, the other side of the story. He's making you look like a stalker, Monica continued. He's saying you kept files on all your friends, that you were obsessed with controlling everyone's relationships, that destroying his life was always your endgame. I clicked on the video with shaking hands. Jake sat across from a sympathetic-looking interviewer, his voice soft and broken as he spoke. Sarah has always been intense about documentation. She would screenshot conversations, save voicemails, keep detailed notes about our friend group's personal lives. I thought it was just her being organized, but now I realize she was building ammunition. That's not true, I whispered to the screen, but Jake continued. The wedding incident was terrible. I made a huge mistake while dealing with my own struggles with sexuality and alcohol. But instead of talking to me like a friend, Sarah chose to systematically destroy my life using private conversations from years of friendship. The interviewer leaned forward sympathetically. You've lost your job, your reputation, even your housing situation due to the online harassment. How are you coping? I'm focusing on healing and forgiveness, Jake said, his eyes glistening with what looked like tears. I hope Sarah gets the help she needs. Mental health struggles can make people do things that seem unthinkable. I slammed the laptop shut, feeling sick. He's making it sound like I'm the one who needs psychiatric care. David was staring at me with an unreadable expression. Sarah, is there any truth to what he's saying? About you keeping files on people? I kept screenshots of concerning conversations. That's not the same as, I stopped, hearing how it sounded. David, you saw the journal entries. You know he was manipulating everyone. I know he's manipulative. But Sarah, you documented years of private conversations and used them to destroy someone's life on social media. How is that not exactly what he's describing? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Riley's name appeared on the screen, and for a moment I felt hopeful. Maybe she'd seen Jake's interview and realized how he was still manipulating the situation. Riley, did you see? Sarah, stop. Her voice was ice cold. I just got a call from a producer asking me to comment on your pattern of obsessive behavior in our friendship. They wanted to know if you'd ever threatened me or made me feel unsafe. My stomach dropped. What did you tell them? I told them the truth. That I'd never felt unsafe, but that I was reevaluating our entire friendship in light of recent events. She paused. But Sarah, they already knew things. About the time you got upset when I didn't invite you to my work party. About when you questioned why I was spending so much time with my coworker Jessica. Those were normal friend concerns. Were they? Because now I'm wondering if Jake was right about you being controlling. Maybe I just never noticed because you were more subtle about it. The accusation hit like a physical blow. Riley, you know me better than that. I thought I did. But the Sarah I knew would never have done what you did this week. Her voice cracked slightly. I can't be part of this anymore. Don't call me again. The line went dead, leaving me staring at David in the suffocating silence of our hotel room. Outside, I could hear normal people living normal lives, cars passing, families talking in the hallway, the distant hum of highway traffic. All of it felt impossibly far away from the nightmare my life had become. She's right, isn't she? David said quietly. About you being controlling. About the documentation, the monitoring of everyone's relationships. I wanted to deny it, to defend myself, but the words wouldn't come. Because deep down, in a place I'd never wanted to examine too closely, I knew there was truth in what they were saying. I hadn't just been Jake's victim. I'd been something else entirely. I stared at David in our hotel room, the weight of everyone's words crushing down on me. Riley's accusations about my controlling behavior. Jake's interview painting me as an obsessive stalker. David's growing certainty that he'd married someone he didn't recognize. You're right, I whispered, the admission scraping my throat raw. About all of it. David looked up from his phone, surprise flickering across his exhausted features. I did keep those screenshots for years. I did monitor everyone's relationships, analyze their problems, position myself as the solution. My hands were shaking as I continued. I told myself I was being a good friend, but really? I was collecting insurance policies. Evidence I could use if anyone ever crossed me. David set down his phone, his full attention on me for the first time in days. Jake was manipulative and cruel, and what he did at our wedding was unforgivable, I continued, tears starting to fall. But David, I've been doing the same thing to all of you for years. Just more subtly. I made myself indispensable by keeping everyone's secrets, by being the person who fixed problems I sometimes helped create. The words felt like poison leaving my system. Remember when Riley and Sam had that huge fight last year? I was the one who told Riley that Sam had called her desperate about the fertility treatments. Sam never actually said that, I paraphrased something much milder to make it sound worse. David's face went pale. Why? Because I liked being needed. I liked being the center of everyone's drama, the person they all came to when things went wrong. I was crying openly now. Jake didn't make me vindictive. He just gave me an excuse to show who I really was. David was quiet for a long time, processing everything I'd confessed. When he finally spoke, his voice was careful. So what happens now? I looked at my phone, still buzzing with notifications, at the laptop full of articles dissecting my character, at the man I'd married who was looking at me like a stranger. Now I take responsibility. I opened Instagram and started typing a new post. For all of it. The final post I ever made to social media was the hardest thing I'd ever written. I need to publicly apologize and take full accountability for my actions this week. While Jake's behavior at my wedding was wrong, my response was disproportionate, cruel, and destructive to multiple innocent people. I violated privacy, weaponized mental health struggles, and caused harm to Marcus's family, Monica's legal situation, and David's career. I also need to acknowledge that my pattern of documentation and manipulation within my friend group predates this incident by years. I'm deleting my social media accounts and entering therapy to address my own toxic behaviors. Jake doesn't deserve what I did to him, regardless of what he did first. Neither do any of you. I'm sorry. I posted it, then immediately deactivated my Instagram account. Then Twitter. Then Facebook. One by one, I dismantled my digital presence while David watched silently. I'm going to resign from my job tomorrow, I told him. Before they fire me. And I'm going to find a therapist who specializes in narcissistic behavioral patterns. What about us? David asked quietly. I looked at my husband of 4 days, this good man who'd been dragged into my chaos through no fault of his own. That's up to you. But I understand if you can't do this anymore. David was quiet for several minutes, staring out the hotel window at the dark highway beyond. When he finally turned back to me, his expression was sad but not unkind. I need time, Sarah. Maybe a lot of time. But I think the fact that you can see what you did wrong is something Jake never could. It wasn't forgiveness, but it wasn't abandonment either. For the first time in 4 days, that felt like enough.